Hey everyone, this is Kshama. Welcome to another webinar of Product School. Today we'll be talking about pitfalls of B2B product management. I'll be sharing some of the insights and learnings that I've had throughout my product management journey with all of you, and hopefully you guys find it helpful. Let's dive a little bit into my background. So I am a PM on the AI platform team at Microsoft. I work on the Onyx runtime, which is an engine that helps accelerate the training and inference for AI developers for their models. And before Microsoft, I started my product journey at Quotient Technology, which is a digital coupons and media company. And I worked as an API product manager, helping on the Retailer IQ platform, which is the flagship product for Quotient to interface for the digital coupons and the digital services that it has with all the other retailers. Before that, I was at Haas School of Business, where I did my MBA. And most of my initial learnings around customer needs and pain points and researching and understanding customer needs better came from Haas. And that's a little bit about me. I want to also talk briefly about the Onpoint Pen Company. I have created this company just for the purpose of this talk to illustrate some of the finer points, some of the more abstract points that we'll be discussing today. Uh, for those of you who are not familiar, B2B is business to business as opposed to business to consumer. So the difference is that in business to business, the products or services are being sold to from one business to another business. Business to consumer is where the sale happens to the end customer who directly use your product. In case of B2B or business to business, the end consumers may actually be the end consumers of the business you are selling to. They may not be directly the ones that you are interfacing with. So having drawn those differences and calling out the Onpoint Pen Company, which I'll be using from time to time as an example to illustrate and to just explain more deeply the points that I'm going to talk about, let's jump into what the potential pitfalls could be in a B2B partnership. The challenges for B2B lie around three main areas that, at least in my experience, have been. The first one is around the decision making process. There are various entities within an organization that decide whom to get business from, what specific features they want the business about, and there's also some level of hierarchy associated with it. So we are going to drill a little bit deeper into the decision-making process and what to expect or what to be aware of so that you know you are selling your product to the decision makers. The next step is to build the right product. Given that there are multiple stakeholders in a B2B scenario, it's possible that you get lost in gathering requirements from a lot of stakeholders. It is essential to wear that product hat on and build the right product, build the right roadmap, and then customize it or fine tune it based on the various needs of your different business partners. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the uh, ways or some of the kind of guideposts that we can have so that we build the right product. Lastly, I want to talk about relationship sustainability. Once the contract is signed, once a business has sold its product to another business, it is important to maintain and and build through that relationship on a consistent basis even for the future. That is, signing a contract is not the end of the journey. It's just a start towards ensuring that the relationship continues for many years to come. So we'll delve a little bit into the relationship sustainability aspect as well. So let's jump into decision making. Um, it's imperative that product managers understand who is a decision making entity within an organization. There could be different levels and hierarchies of decision makers. At one end, it could be in the C-suite. So we could have a CFO or someone else in the executive suite making a decision around purchasing the products or deciding on the vendors. At the other end, you could have more leaf level decision makers where teams or a small number of teams or even individuals within the team actually guide or help decide whether your product is the one that's going to be used as opposed to someone else's. Being aware of this decision making process and where the decision making centers lie is fairly important, because that will help you understand whom to negotiate with and also bring in other leadership um, or other figures within your organization so that they can make the call or they can help uh, have those negotiation discussions. Uh, it's also important to understand that in the process of making decisions, one may have to pay an upfront cost for integration, especially for businesses or organizations that that have inflexible systems. You as a product manager has to factor in the cost of integrating with those systems, and that may have to be done upfront so that later on the process gets smoother as you build more features and more and expand or evolve the product. To understand the decision making process a little bit better, um, I want to drill down into the two facets that we just discussed. So one was the top-down way of deciding, where it is strategically mandated by the C-suite or the executive office. The advantage is that this becomes, in most cases, this becomes a multi-team adoption, which means once the mandate is there, multiple teams within the organization will actually adopt your product or feature. And uh, the factors that come into play are more for um, the organization or the group as opposed to the individual features that your product may offer. Um, in the case of, so let's go to our Onpoint pen example, right? In the case of my pen, this is a pen that I am selling to other businesses, and those businesses may have different use cases for it. One of the use cases would be, let's say, putting it within a pen set and then selling it as a pen set to other people. Another could be stamping it with a logo for other businesses and then selling it to them, or them like gifting it out to their customers. A third could be selling it with notepads, like as a set with notepads, and maybe the pen needs to be affixed to the notepad in some way. So there are different end users for those businesses and different scenarios or use cases in which my pen is going to be used. If you look at a top-down example, some uh, organizations would say that a CFO or someone in the executive chain decides that, hey, we are just going to go with this pen. We are going to go with this company maybe because they've had previous experience before, or it's very easy to work with us, or they just think that it's less of a hassle. We have low friction points in terms of, let's say, our billing systems. So these decisions are just mandated by the CFO, and it has to be adopted by the entire company. The opposite spectrum is bottom up, where the decisions are made, not made, but rather informed by the people within the teams. So these could be individuals within teams who are, let's say, working with my pen, and they realize that, oh, the pen is, leak proof, or maybe just glides on paper and it's very smooth to write with, or it just matches the color of their notepads that they are creating. The advantage is this bottom up approach leads you to automatically benefit from evangelization. So this team or the team members actually promote your product to other teams. They may they may share what advantages it has, or they just may want more uniformity across the organization. So in my case, maybe because of the benefits of the pen being leak proof, it's sold or evangelized to another team who actually builds very high end products where leak proof is very important. And so automatically I get some level of evangelization within the company that I'm selling to. And the value is evaluated directly by the individuals within the team or smaller teams, as opposed to the C suite or someone higher up in the leadership chain. So that understanding who is making those decisions and who is informing those decisions is critical, because that would lead to you either evangelizing or negotiating with the right party and setting the expectations right on your behalf and with your own leadership as well. Moving on a little bit, building the right product. So this is the second important aspect. And although we are a B2B company, although our immediate customers are businesses, it is super important to actually keep an eye on the end customer pretty much all the time. What this means is, going back to our pen example, if I am designing a pen that has multiple use cases, the most fundamental thing always remains that I am designing a pen, and I need to understand how the end customer uses a pen. They expect it to be smooth, non-gritty while writing. Maybe there are certain color choices that are preferable by certain segments of people. Maybe leak proof is important because of certain areas, maybe in airplanes or certain other places that the pen may be used. It depends on what specific pen it is, or the nuances could be different. But what I'm trying to say is the end user and their needs are the ones that define the product for us. Once we've defined the product, and once we've understood what the roadmap should be, that's when we start soliciting feedback from our business customers to understand how it needs to be fine-tuned. If the pen is going to go in a set as a notepad and you need to affix it to the notebook somehow, then we need to add a feature of putting a spring or some kind of hook to add it to the notepad. So that's a customization that we may have to do depending on the specific use case. However, the fundamental pen features are built or thought of even before this customization takes place. The other thing to watch out for is the necessity to actually take inputs from multiple customers. And here I mean business customers. The challenge is that we may have some heavy or powerful customers, and then there may be some others who may be not so powerful, or who may not have as much an influence on our organization than compared to the others. So in spite of that power play, as a product manager, one has to be aware of the requirements from a holistic perspective, and gather the right set of inputs from every customer to define the product and then decide on the customizations later. Let's move to the next slide where um, there are uh, I discuss some of the um, key ideas as well as some of the mitigations that we can have so that we don't fall into the trap of either over customizing the product or overly getting influenced by only the powerful players. So as I mentioned, it's super important to actually understand what your end customer's needs are, and then it's also you also do the regular product management exercise of understanding what the cost of implementation would be for those features, what the market size would be, what the specific use cases would be, and how you could refine or build more innovative features based on the use cases. So that entire process has to be done. The product has to be built, and then as the product is being built, we also have to keep in mind building a long-term roadmap. This roadmap is informed by all the of course the end customers, but also all the business customers that we have, so that you could pace out in time what would be built when, and build a roadmap in your mind and in your company, irrespective of what the influential players are. This helps define the vision for the product, and it also keeps you on track to decide what has to be done next in in spite of having a lot of distractions or randomizations coming externally. Because trust me, you are going to have a lot of requests to customize the product, especially if it needs integration within other other systems or other teams. You are going to get requests to fine tune it or change it in a specific way so that it's easier to get integrated into their systems. However, having this roadmap acts like a North Star, acts like a guide rail where you know what your uh, milestones are, and you can work towards them while you are accommodating these customizations in the journey. So again, I would emphasize creating the roadmap and having that vision before you start customizing and fine tuning. And in terms of managing the power play, it's important to get feedback from multiple players, include those requirements within the roadmap, and have a long-term scaled out vision that scales not just to the bigger players, but also to the smaller players, understanding how once the product is successful, how it would reach all these smaller players and what those relationships and what the characterization of that interface or integration would be. Moving on, let's assume that you built a killer, everyone loves it and they have bought onto it, you've signed the contract, right? Now, is it time to rest and call it a day, call it success and move on? Or is there more work to be done? There are a lot of risks even after a contract is signed. And resting on the laurels of a signed contract can be dangerous. There are several reasons why companies actually would want to reevaluate their contract with you, their relationship with you, the purchase of their product with you. And a lot of times it may not even have to do with the specific features that you've built or the actual product that is in hand, right? There, of course, I mean, cost and features are consideration, but there could be organizational politics. There could be evaluation of your competitors. There could be changes in the market forces that could lead to some dramatic shifts in even your business customer needs or your end customer needs. So in that sense, trust me that your business customer is going to constantly be evaluating whether they have other options. this possibility of actually shifting to another option is higher if the integration costs are low with your product, because they can easily leave you and go for something else since it hasn't cost them much to integrate anyways. They would also not want one company to actually own a lot of their um, software or technology. So they would want to dissipate power over different multiple players. And this also helps because if for whatever reason one relationship sours, they can leverage another existing vendor that they have and build um, the product that they couldn't they couldn't sustain with the other relationship. So from that perspective, they want to dissipate power. They want to have multiple relationships ongoing, and they want to reduce the dependency on just one player. The other risk is, of course, they could choose to build their own solution in-house. So for example, in my case of notebooks and pens, there is nothing stopping the notebook packaging company to start building their or creating their own pens tomorrow. They can customize it based on their needs, and so they'll do a cost benefit evaluation and decide whether they want to just start manufacturing their own pens. So what are some of the ways in which these risks can be mitigated? As a product manager, what is it that you should be thinking of even after you have sold your product? I think the key to selling or creating the product is to evolve both as a product and as an organization. The product has to evolve with the needs of the ultimate end users. So let's go back to our pen example. Let's say that the market forces are shifting people from using pen and paper to, let's say, iPad or phones and styluses. This means that as a pen manufacturer, my future looks dicey and I need to pivot if I have to stay in business. Being aware of these changes in market forces or these shifts in user behavior is super important so that you can then change your strategy based on these changes that you can predict or you can foresee. For example, as a pen manufacturer, I may pivot to manufacturing styluses because I know that that is the future. So this is an evolution not just of my pen with its features. I'm not adding another feature to my pen. I'm strategically shifting my focus to a completely new product because I know that that's how my users are shifting as well. The other thing that one can do for mitigation is to strategically expand the user base. And here with users, I mean the business customers that we have. Strategic expansion means engaging with a new customer, not just to, you know, not just for the sake of revenue or for the sake of growth, but also for the sake of how your company's strategy is evolving. So going back to the previous example, if we are moving into a stylus manufacturing business, having an end or a business customer who actually would use our styluses is the next best thing. So getting let's say a phone manufacturer on board for whom we are going to start manufacturing their stylus is a strategic expansion of our customer base, as opposed to just getting another customer who is going to buy our pens and package them and sell them. So from that sense, uh, the expansion of the business customers also has to be done more strategically if we are thinking about mitigating risks to our business from external threats. The third aspect is to add different dimensions of value to your product. What I mean by different dimensions is it's not just the dimension of features, or it's not just the dimension of improving the next the pen to the next 2.0 version that may be better than the previous. Think about adding value as a bundle. So going back to the pen example, let's say I'm aware that most of my business customers need fast shipping, expedited shipping, and they usually have shortage of supply. I could provide free expedited shipping to those customers, knowing their needs in advance. Or let's say that I come to know that certain of my customers actually need pens that have very ergonomic designs. Being able to proactively create those designs and ship it to them is adding another dimension, as opposed to just tacking another feature related to, let's say, color or choice of logo, or having a special hook to attach. So what this is adding is it's bundling different values that are not specific to the features that we are creating, but it's kind looking at it from a more holistic perspective about the experience for both the end users as well as the experience for the business customer that we have, and trying to satisfy them and getting ahead of the competitor game. So these were some of the strategies that you could employ to mitigate risks to your business from other competitors, or just the evolution of the product and the market forces. And that brings me to the end of the talk. I hope that you've found it useful. Please feel free to leave any comments below. And if you have questions, you can also reach me at my LinkedIn page. I've added the address here. I would like to thank Product School for giving me this opportunity. It's great to give back to the community, and I really hope that you guys have find this helpful. Feel free to reach out, and in the meanwhile, please stay safe and please take care. Thank you so much. Bye.